Hey guys, I wanted to get on here tonight and talk to you about. Most of you know what happened to my parents' home last November. Um, we're coming up on the 1 year anniversary next week, this coming week, and I just wanted to get on here and talk to you about a couple things. And if you don't know what happened, my parents' home was destroyed in a storm. The video on here about how I found out and how everything happened, you can find it on here and watch it if you'd like to, but I'm not going to talk about that part again right now because this is going to be way too long if I do. So, we're coming up on the 1 year anniversary this week. We are all very nervous. We are all very anxious about that because we know it's going to be a really, really hard day, and we're not ready. We're not looking forward to it, and there's also storms predicted for that week, so that makes it even worse. So I just wanted to get on here and talk to you about a couple things because I have learned so much. I have grown so much. That day has taught me so much, and what good is it if I don't share it? So I want to share it, and I've already tried to do this a couple times. I've tried to record this and I keep crying. So that's why I have raccoon eyes. I got black all the way down. But anyway, I'm going with it because this needs said, I think. My cousin and I, if you don't know, after it all happened to my parents, they were going to rent a house. It was like one door down. It wasn't the house right next door, but it was the next one. Right down from me. My landlords have a lot of homes they rent. And when everything happened, I called them immediately because I'm like, they got to have somewhere to live. And I know that in that moment, I should not have done that. I hadn't even talked to them about what their plan was and what they wanted to do. My dad was still strapped to a backboard, but I'm out in the hospital lobby calling my landlords to see if they have any houses for rent. And that's how crazy and sporadic I was, but it worked out because they did have a house for rent. And they were right by me. I was able to look after them. I was able to be there for them. I was able to take care of them. So it worked out perfectly. But I do want to say I realized that was probably one of the craziest things I've ever done. Calling them in the middle of my panic. But anyway, they had nothing. They were able to get some of their clothes out, but as far as appliances, as far as Q-tips, toilet paper, Band-Aids, they had nothing. And my dad didn't even have clothes at the time. We dug through it days later and started finding his clothes. But my mom, most of hers, because their bedroom basically just the walls blew out and stuff was everywhere. So a lot of her clothes was either threw out in the yard or was like right there, and we were able to dig through and get them. So anyway, that's why she had clothes and he didn't. His closet was in another room in the house. It was in like the extra bedroom, which was in the middle of the house, which was completely caved in. But anyway, me and my cousin decided we're going to try to furnish this rental house for them with all the things they'll need without them knowing. We ended up telling them later, but we already had everything for them by the time we told them. But anyway, I got on Facebook, I made a secret group, and I started asking people for anything they had they could donate. And I made a list of what they needed. And it was a big, huge, long list. I wish I had it here with me. I wish I had kept it so I could show you. But anyway, it was this big, huge, long list. Me and my cousin brainstormed, came up with it. And because I know we also had a GoFundMe account, but I know so many people had things they could give. Maybe you had an extra microwave. Maybe you had, this or that. They had things they could give. I'm going to move in here. I'm going to move in this other room because, let me flip the light on, because Jeremy's sleeping and I talk way too loud. So I'm going to come in here. I'm going to try to set my phone up. I'm sorry. I'm so crazy right now, y'all. I really am. Maybe that'll work. That ain't going to work. I'm going to have to hold it. I'm sorry, y'all. I really am. They had so many needs. I don't know where, I'm like scattered right now. I'm really sorry. Anyway, so many people maybe had this or that around their house they could give and donate, but they didn't have money. And so that's why we didn't just ask for money. And plus, we felt, well, I'll put it on me. I felt very selfish asking for money. I just felt weird about it. I felt super weird asking for money. So we were asking for people to donate these items if they had them. And we weren't asking for new. If people wanted to buy new, that's great. But we were not asking for new. We were asking, they needed everything. Nothing was too small. And remember that, because I'm going to talk about that later too. And so, y'all, within days, I had everything on that list. And I'm talking about a list. I mean, I so wish I still had it. It was a huge list, like one whole row, like the whole paper was lined, and I had started down the other side, making another column. And people that knew me, that did not even know my parents' help. And I have an example, and I could have a million examples, but I can't think right now, but this is the one I can think of. Within days, we had everything on that list covered, completely covered. And I had a friend of mine, I worked with her years ago. She does not know my parents, never met them, don't know who they are. She sent me a message on Facebook, and she was like, hey, what can I do? How can I help? And for a split second, I thought, well, we got everything, and I was going to tell her, hey, we're good, I really appreciate it, but we're okay. And something told me, you rack your brain and you think of something and you let her help you. And so, and I'm going to try really hard not to get emotional, y'all, but I can't promise you it's going to work. And so I thought, and I racked my brain, because there's things you don't think about. My mom has talked about this before. If you know her personally, she probably has talked to you about it. Q-tips. Band-aids. Band-aids is something I wouldn't even think of. Of course, toilet paper, paper towels, dishes, pots and pans, a microwave, this, that. You know, they had nothing. My mom did get her clothes, but my dad didn't even have clothes. And so I racked my brain because we had all the items I just named accounted for and covered. So something told me, you need to tell her something. Give her something to do. She wants to help. You let her help. So I said, what about cleaning supplies? They had no cleaning supplies, a mop, a broom, Pine Sol, Windex. And I didn't even give her a list of that. I just said, how about cleaning supplies? Anything you got, we'll take it. And I mean, she went out and bought things, but some people gave stuff they had. And we didn't care. Sky's the limit. They had nothing, anything. And I learned so much in that moment. She actually took it to my mom's work, because I'm in Sweetwater. Mom's in Athens. It was hard to get with people, get their items and things. She took it to my mom's work. She had to ask for my mom. She didn't even know who she was. And that spoke volumes to me, because so many people would not have done that, and she did. And so many, I could give you I could make 1,000 videos, a million ways people helped, a million people who didn't personally know my parents who helped, who knew my cousin, or who knew me, or who knew another family member, or who knew somebody from their church, and it's amazing. And you don't even understand it unless you've been through it. It was absolutely the most incredible thing I've ever experienced, to watch people come together. And I always say, to watch the community come together. People not even in our community. People who didn't even really know us. It was absolutely amazing. It was a breathtaking experience. I will say that. And one of the things I really feel like I learned from it was, if someone offers to help you, let them help you. Don't say we're okay when we're not. We were not okay. They were not okay. Don't be selfish and just say, we'll take money or gift cards. We could have totally done that. but that was not the right way to go about it. That was not the right thing to do. So many people could not have gave in that way, but yet had an item they could give. And so many people were able to help. And if someone wants to help you, if someone offers to help you, I don't care if you feel like you're covered, rack your brain and try to find some way to let them help. Because don't let pride get in the way. Because one day, if people offer to help you and you're always saying, no, I'm okay, no, I'm fine, blah, 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 whatever excuse, eventually people are going to quit offering to help you. They're not going to offer because they're like, well, excuse me, she doesn't like to take help, or she doesn't, And so I feel like that is a huge lesson I learned. Because there were so many times I could have said, oh, we got everything I had on their list, we're fine. But if I wrote, I'm sorry, I can't even talk. But if I racked my brain, I could think of ways and things they needed and things that would help them. And someone got to bless them. And I know so many people, God laid it on their heart to help. And so it was up to me to give them something to give, or to meet them to get the item, and that was kind of on me. And so I hope I did a good job. I tried really hard. It was difficult. We ended up getting everything they needed to furnish the rental house, but we did end up telling them. And the reason we did that was my mom was fixing to go out and buy some stuff because she knew that they were fixing to be able to move into the rental house. And so she was planning on going and buying some stuff. And I didn't want her to buy stuff she already had and spend money that she didn't need to spend, because she needed the money for other things. And so me and my cousin, one night, my mom came over to my aunt's house for dinner, and we showed her the list, and we told her, we've been keeping a secret, and all this stuff on the list, you have it. You think you don't have anything, but you have everything. And it was really emotional, and go figure, right? And we all cried a little, and we all hugged it out, which made us cry worse. And so it was a really humbling and amazing experience. And I know that most of y'all that know them personally know that they have a new house now. They're back up there on their property. And it's a lot bigger house. They had a single wide before. This is a double wide. It's more bedrooms, way more square footage. It's a big house. And some people think that people will say everything. Let me say that. And people have said that it's bigger, and it is bigger, but they will say it's better. They will say they upgraded. They just things like that really stab, really hurt. And I know, used to say it myself when it all first happened. I knew that God would take care of them. I knew that God would restore them. I knew that God would bless them bigger than they ever thought possible, and He has, and He did. But we would go back in time in a heartbeat. I know they would too. When I say we, I know I can speak for them on this. We would. They love their new house. I know they do. And I love it too. But I know we would go back in a heartbeat to that single wide. I know that we would choose it over and over and over. I lived in that house. I was either 3 or 4 when we moved in. I might have been 4. From then until I moved out. When I got married, I was 19. And there's so many memories. There's so many lessons I learned in that house. I grew up there. I changed there. I became the person I am today there. And I there was a counter. It's like a big round counter. It came out when you were going out of the kitchen into the living room. And my dad would always tell me about how when I was little, when we moved in, I would go running through there and I would run under the counter because I was short enough to fit under it. And he was just talking about how fast kids grow and how fast I grew up. And he's like, it's like we blinked and you couldn't run under that counter anymore. You were too tall. And it's just a fun little story we had. We always talked about it because I'd look at the counter like, what? I fit under that? Really? And I got to watch Connor run under that counter so many times. And every time he went running into that living room and he went right under that counter, every time I would always think, man, I'm going to be so sad one day when he can't run under that counter anymore. And he never got too tall for the counter, y'all. But he can't run under that counter anymore, and I am really sad. It was just a little memory I thought I was going to have with him that like my dad had with me. And I didn't get to do that, and I know that's something so trivial, that's something so simple, and it seems so silly to everyone else, but it's really sad, and it's really hard. My bedroom had my crayon marks on the wall. And I know that that devalues a home, obviously. But it gave that home so much more value to my parents and to me. I know that my, all the awards and certificates and stuff I got from school, which I'll be honest, I didn't get many. They hung in that bedroom. My diploma, where I graduated, and trust me, I need proof of that. It was in my bedroom. The pictures of me when I was a baby were in that house. And I know that those are simple things. I know that those are all material things, and do not get me wrong, I'm so thankful my dad is okay, that he's here today, that he was not physically, well, he was physically harmed, but not, beyond repair. And I'm thankful, don't get me wrong, but man, just stuff you thought you'd always have that's gone forever. I can't get it back, it's gone. And it's nothing I need. I don't need my plaques from elementary school. I don't need any awards. I don't need to know that I had perfect attendance in the 4th grade. I don't need to know that I got citizenship award in 5th grade. I don't need all that. But I never thought it would be gone either. And so it's one of those things that you think doesn't happen to you. It's not going to happen to you. It doesn't happen around here. That's not going to happen. And then it does. And you don't know how to process it. You don't know how to go through the motions of grieving. Here we are 1 year later, and there's still days I can just sit down and bawl about it. There's days I can't believe it really happened. There's days that I still expect to drive up their driveway and see that house sitting there. There's days that I replay it over and over. There's so many things. I still have my house key on my key ring. I told myself a couple weeks ago that I was going to take it off. I'm keeping it, but that I was going to take it off my key ring. It didn't need to be on my key ring. I'd put it up somewhere. I can't. I told myself maybe the week of the 1 year anniversary, I could, it'd been a year, I could take it off my key ring at least. I cannot bring myself to do it. I can't. I know that seems crazy. I know I've known people in the past who something that seems simple like that to me, they're like, I can't do it. I just can't do it. And I'm like, just do it. What's the big deal? I can't. I can't do it. And if someone else did it, I would go crazy. You know, it's crazy. It doesn't even make sense. And that's emotional trauma. It rears its head when you don't expect it, when you think you're okay, when you think you've moved on, when you think it doesn't affect you anymore. Boom, it's there. And that's on a daily basis. That's at any random time. We know that we're about to have a very bad week. We know that storms are predicted this week of all weeks. We know that we're going to replay that all day long next week. We know that. I'm a nervous wreck. I wish that I'm not going to call into work. I'm not the type of person to call in when I'm not sick. But I wish I had asked off. I wish I had got a sub and took that day off. I honestly do. Because I want to just stay in bed all day. I want to just hide out in my house. I don't want to talk to anybody. I don't want to be around anybody. I don't want to answer my phone. That's how I feel. And that is... What is today? The 3rd? I don't even know. 4, 5, 6, 7. That's 4 days out. And I already feel that way. So I know the day of I'm going to feel that way. I'm just nervous. I'm just super anxious. I have so much anxiety about it. And so I really want y'all to pray for my family. But I really, really want you to pray for my dad. Because if I have so much anxiety about it, he was in the house. None of us can even fathom what he saw, what he heard, what he felt. There's no way we can even comprehend it. Our brains can't even process what he went through and what he is going through, because he does have trauma. He tries to hide it well. He is better, don't get me wrong. But there is a lot of thoughts and emotions, and he hides it well. He's that type of person, and I'm the same way. I'm a lot like my dad. In that sense, that we are quiet people, we hide a lot of things, and not that we're lying, but we're the type to say we're okay, we're fine, and we're like that a lot. And I think that's another thing I learned. It's okay to not be okay. It's okay to say you're not okay. It's okay to ask for help. It's okay to take a handout. And I don't think they took a handout. That was probably bad wording on my part. But you know what I mean. Take help from others. It's okay. And people will help you if you'll let them. But you have to let them. Because if you don't let them, people will stop offering. And one day you may really need it. I never thought anything like this would happen to my parents. I never thought I would have to ask for help from people. I never thought that material possessions would get to me. I've always said, you can't take it with you when you go. It's just material possessions. It's just, I can sit right now and start crying about the craziest stuff that was in my mom and dad's house. I don't need it. I probably hadn't looked at it in years, but the fact that it's gone, the fact that it's no more and there's nothing I can do about it. When my mom left home that morning, she had no idea that she would never unlock her front door again. She had no idea that she would never step foot into her house again. She had no idea the things that were to come. I got up that morning. It was a normal day. I took a picture with Connor. We take our picture every day. We were smiling in that picture. Sometimes I go back and I look at that picture from November 7th, 2017. And I think, man, I had no idea that in a couple hours my world would flip upside down. that I would get a phone call that would change who I am. Not change what kind of day I was having, not change what I did that afternoon, change who I am. But it wasn't a surprise to God. God knew. And I know sometimes people say, why would a loving God let so many bad things happen to good people? My parents grew up in church. My parents love God. My parents are saved. My parents try to live right. My parents raised me right. They took very good care of me. I was always loved. I was always took care of. So why would a loving God let bad things happen to good people? And I don't have an answer for that. But what I can tell you is that God's still good. And He still loves us. And I've heard it time and time again that God has a reason for everything. Everything happens for a reason. And I don't doubt that. But I think that some things we're never going to know the reason. I'm never going to understand the reason for that. I can't. I don't. But I know it's changed me. I know I'm a better person. I know I try to be more compassionate. I try to be more caring. I try to be more loving, because it just goes to show I've met so many people since this time last year. I've made new friends, new people at church, and they have no idea any of this about me. They don't know any of it. And when I think about that, it reminds me that we don't know people's story. We don't know all their background, nor do we need to know. I'm not saying we need to know, but I'm just saying you have no idea the trauma people are dealing with. You have no idea what's going on in people's lives, the storms they're facing, the storms they have faced that rear their head still. You have no idea, and so you need to be kind, y'all. And I'm talking to myself too. We have got to be kinder to one another. We have got to support each other. We have got to be there for each other, because this life is hard. Bad stuff happens to good people. That's life. Good stuff happens too. We are so blessed. God restored my parents. He truly did. But to restore you, you have to have been broke down. And we were broke down. They were in the bottom of the pit. They had nowhere to go but up. And they did. They looked at God. They kept their eyes on Him, and they went up. But that don't mean that we still don't cry out about it. That don't mean that we still aren't facing anxiety and depression and worry and stress and heartbreak even. And the people we've met since last year don't know any of that. So it just goes to show you don't know what others are facing, no matter how well you think you know them. And it just goes to show you need to be kinder. You need to be more understanding. You need to be more loving. And I'm totally talking to myself here. Please don't think that I'm like on here barking orders and preaching at people. Absolutely not. Anyway, I just wanted to get on here and ask y'all to pray for my family, especially my dad, this coming week, because it marks the 1 year of something very traumatic. And people have told us we should move on. People have, made the comment that they upgraded. Like I said earlier, people have said that we should forget about it. We shouldn't think about it. What's gone is gone. And those all come from people who don't get it. And you don't get it until it happens to you. And anyway, I'm not on here to gripe or complain. I just want to say thank you to everybody who helped us. I haven't forgotten. I'll never forget.